Okay, let's talk first about the Tiger Hunter. The director and writer is Lena Kahn. This is her very first feature, and it's set in 1979. The star is Danny Pudi from Community. He stars as Sami Malik, as a young South Asian man who idolizes his father, a legendary tiger hunter in their village. When an opportunity to travel to America to accept a job as an engineer in a big Chicago corporation beckons, Sami packs up his bags, leaves his home and those he values most, his relatives, good friends, and in particular Ruby, his childhood crush. Arriving in Chicago, Sami is in for a rude awakening. The company has downsized, and with no other job opportunities for an Indian engineer, he is forced to accept a position deep in the company's basement as a draftsman. Other indignities also follow. Having already been mugged on his first day in America, Sami soon meets the company's golden boy, Sam Page, a hotshot engineer who exemplifies the modern-day pejorative of white privilege. And also, to humiliate himself more, he agrees to live in an unusual living arrangement courtesy of Babu, played by Rizwan Manji himself. He is an immigrant who's forced to work as a parking valet. And in all his adventure, he also meets his best friend, and the name escapes me, but it is played by John Heder, who you remember as Napoleon Dynamite. And so what we have for you today is the interview with the writer-director of The Tiger Hunter, and that's Lena Kahn. Here's that interview.
Okay, I'm at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival. I'm with Lena Kahn, the director of... Did you write and direct?
Yeah.
Okay, writer-director of The Tiger Hunter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You were the opening night film for the festival. How did it go last night?
It went amazing. I mean, we knew that it was something that a lot of people, would fall in love with, but people were like cracking up. They were laughing. Honestly, they were laughing at things that I'm not even sure they were intended as jokes, but I think they got in that giggly mood, so it went really well.
Okay, well, tell us the story of The Tiger Hunter.
Yeah, the Tiger Hunter is the story of Sami Malik, a young guy in India who comes to America in the 1970s, kind of like on this quest to live up to his father, to impress a girl back home, and when things don't go well, he teams up with like this ragtag group of people to concoct a scheme to trick his childhood sweetheart into thinking he's something that he's not.
Well, you mentioned laughs at unusual times. There are a few choices I'm interested in why you made it, but like why the 70s?
I mean,
the late 70s.
Because we're a relatively low budget movie, my producers would be like, really, do we have to do the 70s? It's really hard. And I was like, guys, can you imagine doing this movie where like when somebody gets in a bind, they just pull out their iPhone and they like FaceTime back home and like, hey, can you wire me some money? I just wouldn't be the same, and the 70s had this really like groovy, feel of like camaraderie and community, and a lot of that is what the movie's about.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure every thrift store has your whole cut wardrobe.
Oh my God, no, it was so difficult to get the wardrobe. Yeah, because we had like so many cast members and so many outfits that my poor costume designer Justine Seymour, she would like go to all the thrift stores, vintage places, but a lot of the time she had doctor them. So like if the collars didn't have those really long collars, she had to like doctor them to like make them longer, and a lot of polyester, a lot of fabric.
All right, so like I said, it's a love story. It takes place in the 70s. What are some of kind of the themes you hit on in here?
I mean, a lot of it is about, and this is something that both like minority communities and just everybody here can hit on, it's kind of about ambition and sort of the choice between ambition and love, and whether that's love for the people around you, your friends, or the romantic interest in your life. You're always making these choices when everybody's like so driven, and so the character kind of has to evaluate like, when is that worth it, and when should I kind of like lessen up and go for something else.
Yeah, and you had another theme in there where it's living up to your father's fame, so to speak. And what was it?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what background you're from, people often have big shoes to step into because you want to live up to somebody that your parents can be proud of. Whether, like, and our main character, kind of, his father had sort of a legacy. He was a really grand figure, and so he's kind of trying to navigate his way. And part of it is also, like, there's a little bit of nostalgia that everybody has. Like, do you remember your parents the way that they actually were, or have you kind of made it something different? And our character kind of navigates that.
Yeah, there was a line in the film, and I can't remember it exactly, but it was the one, it ended with looking in the wrong direction.
Sometimes you don't find what you're looking for because you were you were looking in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about that? Or,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. People sometimes you spend like years and years focused on something, no matter what it is. Like part of it, I wrote this movie partly, based off like immigrant stories I had heard, but honestly, a lot of it was I have family working in just corporate America, and you spend years and years trying to get to like that top position, right? And sometimes you're just happier being like the dude from Office Space, And I think people need to embrace that because then you lose sight. You spend years like missing out on things like trying to figure out how to schmooze, like with people like talk about like stupid water cooler talk and things like that when you could have been doing something a lot more fun.
Now, what was the inspiration behind the film? Where was that first spark that started the ball rolling?
There was two sparks that came almost at the exact same time. One is I was telling some of my friends I was working in development about my grandfather who was a tiger hunter in the 60s, and he used to like man-eaters would come into the village and he was sort of the hero and everybody's talking about him. And then somebody wrote me once, said, what's really funny? My father, when he came to this country, he and his roommates all used to share this one suit. Like it was an epic suit, and they would schedule all their interviews around their suit, and they'd be waiting in their apartment in their underwear, and the other guy would run in and be like, give me the suit, give me the suit. And he's like, why don't you make like a Coming to America type movie except with like Indians, and that would be kind of fun. I was like, yeah, let's explore that.
Yeah, and I still hear stories of people who are doctors and engineers in their homeland. They come here and they're janitors.
I know, yeah, exactly. Like, and that's what happened in the movie. There's all these guys. They have technical degrees, and they're like taxi drivers.
So what was the journey like? So you have your inspiration, you have your script, and now now it's like, I think this is good enough to make it to a film.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's kind of an uphill game. I mean, we saw like Oscar So White and everything. Like a lot of the studios don't want to take risks on movies with diverse characters, and so we kind of had to put it out there ourselves. So I went around the country just like knocking on doors, cold calling like angel investors, venture capitalists, basically people who had money, and pitching them the movie, and we found people who were actually really excited. And then when Danny came on board, obviously people were so excited for him because of his work on Community. When the other cast came on board, then things started going a little quicker then.
I mean, you started getting some pretty big names and recognizable people.
Yeah, but we did our Kickstarter campaign before we had any cast, and it actually went really well. It's like just kind of a testament that people do want to see movies that sort of represent them and where they can honestly just have a really good time.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it comes down to a good story. It's not that an Indian American or an Asian American is coming to the film. You still have to produce. You still have to bring something quality to the table.
No, for sure. I mean, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Like, I wanted to avoid, I guess, the quote-unquote, like, typical Indian story, or immigrant story, rather, where somebody comes into the country and they're suffering and this and that. I was like, no, there's a lot more to people than just, like, they happen to be an immigrant, or they happen to be Indian, or they happen to be, like, whatever you are. Like, so this is really a story about, it's a love story. It's about him trying to, like, make his father proud. There's so much, and it's about, a microwave.
And impressing the girl.
Impressing the girl.
Thinking you know what she needs.
Because I think that's what we need so much from, like, so many, basically most Asian minorities, and it's not just Indian. What we need to do is start telling stories where you almost forget that person is Asian or that person is a minority, and you just concentrate on what their story is, because it's about a lot more than that. And so that's kind of what one of my goals was with the movie.
Yeah, so what does it mean to you to be at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival?
I mean, we had such a great reception, and then we had like, film buyers and things in the room, and they were able to see, like, no, that there's an audience for this sort of thing. Like, people were having such a good time. Like, we were floored. Like, we knew people liked it. People were like coming out saying, like, I was laughing and crying at the same time, and so for them to see that means, studios and things like that, and just Hollywood in general can start seeing that, like, there is a market for kind of diverse content that's just fun and good.
Yeah, I mean, there's love stories. There's thousands of them. But but to come up with a unique take and a unique angle, and to even give it the Indian American filter, makes it a really enjoyable and even educational experience.
I mean, it was really fun. I mean, just like the little building blocks of the movie along the way. Like, for instance, I don't know if I mentioned, we interviewed like dozens of immigrants to kind of get a lot of the building blocks, the stories that went into the movie, but they weren't all Indian immigrants.
Right.
Like, a lot of them, like, we had Korean American immigrants, we had, you know, all kinds of different people, and it's kind of like, what is that show? My family religiously watches Fresh Off the Boat, and we can relate to so many of those things. And so there's a lot of things that kind of like cross that sort of country boundary.
Yeah, and ultimately that's it. It's the story and your ability to connect with a large audience.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And having just seen it, it's like the film is fantastic. So.
Oh no, thank you. I mean, the cast, they're just so charismatic. I mean, like, they're over there right now, like, hugging each other. I don't know what they're doing, but yeah.
Yeah, believe me, a good cast always enhances a good story.
For sure, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, as you know, this is Film Festival week. These last 2 weeks, it's going crazy. I've got at least 15 movies I've got to review, and I'm getting them out as fast as I can. So let's talk about the opening night feature of the 2016 Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival, and that movie is The Tiger Hunter. Written and directed by her first, I guess this is her first film. Her name is Lena Kahn, and we have an interview with Lena, and we'll play that after this. But the movie stars Danny Pudi from Community, John Hader from Napoleon Dynamite, Karen David. Also features well-known South Asian actors Rizwan Manji, Iqbal Thiba, who is from Glee, and Parvish China, who you may have seen in Outsourced. Okay, so let's talk about The Tiger Hunter. Great movie. It's a directorial debut of Lena Kahn, and it's the story that follows the main character, Sami Malik, played by Danny Pudi, who moves to the United States to become successful in hopes of winning the heart of his love Ruby, which is played by Karen David. So it's your typical story. This takes place in 1979 in a small village in India. Young Sami Malik, he is the son of the village's hero, the legendary Tiger Hunter. But this title as the hero does not bring any means of wealth, and Sammy is just like everybody else, trying to make it in the world. He just graduated university as an engineer, and he returns to his village only to find out that his love Ruby is going to America, where she is going to be married off by her father, the General Iqbal, and so Sammy decides that he needs to go to America, become famous and successful in order to win the hand of his love. And so the village comes together, unites, and sends Sammy to America. When Sammy arrives in America, though, he is fraught with problems. The first thing is he is mugged the moment he leaves the airport. And then the job he was promised at the engineering firm is no longer available. And in order to stay in America, he has to get a real job, and he takes a temporary job in the mailroom. And with no place to live, Sammy then bunks up with with a friendly stranger, Babu, played by Rizwan Manji, who lets him stay in his apartment, where he literally shares the bed with 8 other roommates. Okay, so here's where the hijinks starts going. Sammy has to now, knowing that his love is coming to New York, he has to quickly appear to be successful in order to fool Ruby's father. And so he enlists the help of his coworker Alex, who is played by John Hader from Napoleon Dynamite, and they find out that he is the son of the CEO of the company, even though he works down at the mailroom. And so they use his house to do this elaborate ruse in order to fool Ruby's father that he is. It's kind of that Aladdin story, being someone you're not in order to win the heart of your love. Okay, so that's essentially what the story is. So let's talk about it. The story is very solid from beginning to end. Very funny, very enjoyable to watch. All the side characters, the 8 guys that Sammy lives with in the apartment. Well, they came to India with the same hopes of making it in America. They are doctors, engineers, and so on, and now they're busboys,
couriers and mailroom clerks. It's kind of that, this happens a lot when immigrants come to America. They may be doctors and engineers in the old country, but here they have to start way down at the bottom of the ladder. And they come here in the hopes that their life will be better. And Lena Kahn, she not only wrote but directed the film. She does a great job in portraying the story. She has good comedic timing, very solid story, very enjoyable story about the underdog who has to face who he is and live up to that potential. So, Tiger Hunter, definitely a highlight of the Asian Pacific Film Festival. It was the opening night gala feature, and we give the Tiger Hunter a 4 out of 5 stars.